Hey there, guys. Nolen and Jason with the HVAC Webmasters.
Howdy.
Today's topic is undeserved HVAC Google rankings of your competitors and how to beat them.
Right.
So there's a lot to unpack here. For one thing, they're not undeserved. They may seem wrong to you.
Right.
And they may seem different than what you've been told the algorithm is. And we've actually we've never actually gone into this before, but I think that, we're talking about the guy that went from 1,000 to 200 today. Yeah. And when you see somebody that violates...
That was traffic numbers, by the way.
Traffic numbers.
1,000 visitors to the site a month down to 200 in a month's time.
Well, it wasn't a month's time, but it was pretty quickly thereafter of the change of the website. And they experienced a massive loss of 80%. But people don't ever put two and two together while this stuff happens. But we'll talk about the algorithmic delay, current change, large sites versus small sites, signals of EEAT, and ultimately how to beat them. And so I guess when somebody sees a website that's really large or small, because you can find both of these actually.
Yeah.
And the reason somebody looks at something and says, it looks weird to me, I don't understand, they don't deserve it, or they do, or they came out of nowhere, which isn't usually true.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. And it's like, well, that person's actually had that website for 7 years or something.
They've been working on their signals of experience, expertise, authority, and trust for a while.
Yeah.
And then you'll find somebody that is got something that really is spammy as hell looking, but it's up there.
Right.
And so I would tell you that from what we can tell, there's an algorithmic delay, because Google can't just go penalize everyone instantly in a market, and other elements of EEAT, or basically their branded digital signaling locally, is holding that up.
Right.
And over time,
they might have a spammy website, but they might also have a lot of reviews, and they might also have other factors.
And they can't change it instantly either.
Yeah.
Like if that guy's stuck there right in that website, he can't instantly change that website either.
Yeah. It takes labor, and if you're going to redo it, it takes time to get it done.
Time and labor, but also the signaling's there on that stuff. They don't want to see everything change instantly. If somebody comes up and they're an HVAC contractor, and they put up a more simplistic website, and this will be the other one somebody sees, and they're like, they're up in ranking too, nothing makes sense. Well, that guy's probably got a cleaner method that's more in line with what Google's asking, which they're asking not to try to trick the search engine of Google or Bing or whatever, and to try to provide a good user experience.
Right.
So somebody wrote something clean that might provide a good user experience, but is sending in a lot of EEAT signaling otherwise. So the signals of that brand are coming through. You see somebody with this dichotomy of stuff going on, you're like, why are they up in ranking? One guy's got a ton, and I see it now. The viewpoint that you have is in the middle of changing right this second.
Yeah, yeah.
And the viewpoint that you have
we're living through it.
Yeah, we're living through it currently, and it's going to look like it's not accurate because there's a delayed reaction in the algorithm, because the algorithm cannot get rid of all the old players immediately, and most of these old players are probably fall in line anyway. And there's an area for you to get in here and beat them by providing what they're asking for
right now. Yeah. I mean, even the way Google has been rolling out recent updates, the helpful content update, which is the one kind of involved in everything
what we're talking about. Yeah.
They've been rolling it out in stages for almost 1.5 years now. And they keep every 2 to 3 months, they boop
They've
out
been talking about
more.
it for 8-10 years.
Oh, yeah. They've been talking about what they want us to do for 10 years. And then they finally started implementing it 1.5 years ago. And just gently, little bit at a time.
So if you're somebody that has hundreds of pages, and it's a traditionally done one, which is poorly done, but you still have hundreds of pages, those are beginning not to perform as well. And the pages inside that large site are not even viewed anymore.
Yeah. And the thing is, the longer they go not being viewed, Google will de-index them. You might have 400 pages on your site,
right?
But if you look at a Search Console report, all of a sudden it's like you got 100 pages that are crawled but not indexed, meaning they're not served on search because no one has looked at them in so long that Google's like, these are irrelevant.
So they'll use some of this content, and some of these people that have these sites probably shouldn't ditch them all. Others should. So it depends on how well the interior content is and if it gets views at all. But essentially what we're telling you, you can go look at a large website now. You can have 500 pages and it'll have literally 5 pages viewed ever.
Yeah.
It'll have 495 pages not viewed because the current algorithm has changed and they don't like it. Now, if they have 100 pages and they're written well, you might have, you might have something about coils or some part or something, or Wi-Fi thermostats that actually are viewed. If you attach something like that to DataPins, then it's actually relevant because you're talking about an M30 Wi-Fi thermostat or types of thermostats, and it's a relevant page.
Right.
But it's difficult in a marketplace to just churn out a crud Wi-Fi thermostat page and then have Google say, "Oh, we love that 400 words of nonsense."
Yeah.
To create a good user experience. Somebody wrote 400 words of nonsense on a halfway okay page, but they wrote it to try to tell Google to put that page up in ranking. Yeah. And because they did it in that way, that content's no longer valid with what Google's been asking for almost a decade.
Yeah. And it's like, if you're talking about servicing Wi-Fi thermostats, you don't actually need 400 words to say that. But a decade ago, everybody got into long form content because they had put out an update that was against shallow content. So everybody started doing long form content, and that spammed the heck out of everything with that. And so they sort of went back they kind of went into a whole thing about quality and stopped caring about word counts and stuff like that.
Of this situation is that, people are palling in content, and now they need signals, and they might like certain types of content like DataPins. But now you have people using ChatGPT and AI to create even more content.
Yeah.
It's justification content for a digital marketing agency is literally all it is. If you'll look, the average website doesn't have 96.55% of the pages are not viewed.
Yeah, that's across all the internet.
You have a 100-page website, you have like 3.5 pages viewed.
Yeah.
And so,
which is crazy.
You'll pay somebody thousands and thousands of dollars to create a site, to maintain it monthly, thousands. And I'm telling you that today, right now, most of all that fluff has become completely unnecessary unless the original website was built extremely well and then updated properly on interior pages. It's falling from favor.
Yeah. And
so most of you that have a large website, I talked to a guy the other day. It's just hard for them to come out. I thought I was going to sign him up as a client. And he had out of nowhere, I think he started, I say out of nowhere, it's like a 1.5 year old website. It was already 500 pages.
Jeez.
And it wasn't doing well. And the site wasn't performing. And it's like, okay, site doesn't perform. This is why. And I tried to explain it to him. I said, they need a nice user experience. Why don't we take this down to like a 5-page site and attach data pins to it? And once you have pins pinning that you did a repair on a M30 Wi-Fi thermostat or a Linux air handler or whatever it is, they'll pick that pin up with very relevant content that shows where the job was done, what was done, and unique photos of the job. And then we'll text and email clients for reviews, and we'll post the photos and caption to your Google account. Your digital branded signaling, or EEAT, will be just superb.
Yeah. You got a 1.5 year old website, 500 pages of content, 1.5 years of jobs that you've done, that you pay someone in your office to do data entry and slam those into data pins, is worth so much more than all of those pages of just BS contrived crap.
Nolan Walker here for DataPins. You may not know, but I own a software company, and we have a proprietary software called DataPins, DATAPINS. You can search it at datapins.com. This is not white labeled. I actually own this piece of software, and I made it for you. It was made for contractors. You can actually take pictures of jobs, up to 6, make a caption about the material, the brand, the situation, the repairs, and post that back to your individual pages on your website, just like that. It's super simple. Anyone could use it. It also texts and emails your clients direct links to your reviews, so it helps reputation and reviews, which helps conversion and map placement. The geo coordinate gets grabbed by DataPins, and Google can tell where you are. So instead of them just seeing reviews, they see all jobs or even estimates that you do. This vastly outperforms just getting reviews. Helps the map show up, helps organic keywords. And remember, those captions that you're putting in there help expand the keywords per page, and it's great regular content. I love it. We made it just for you. It is organic optimization on steroids for both your website, your rankings, and the map placement. Check out DataPins. I think you'll be happy you did. I like to tell these stories, even though I'm told by people around me not to tell them. But we had a client that was doing ludicrously well. I mean, insanely well. And I'll describe insanely well. They had something going before us, but not as much, not a lot.
Yeah.
4 years later, they had a board of directors. We were unable to talk to the original people. And the original,
when they came to us, it was 2 guys in a truck.
Yeah.
Picking up day workers.
They had moved across, we had made this massive website. And it's an interesting story because it kind of comes full circle. I mean, this original site done, we lost this client's business for no good reason, with extreme prejudice from them because they were just, egos the size of Texas, and they were stomping in. They wanted more, and we had taken them.
We gave you the whole state.
We gave them
the state of Texas, no less. Not a small state. 1,500
city pages.
Yeah,
all written by us. They had 5-6 locations. Now had a board of directors. They were so fancy too. I called and I'm like, I don't usually call people when they go off the rails. People don't realize marketing. I said, why would you leave this website? This website's uncanny. This is ludicrous. You show up all over the state for all these things.
You search your service in any town in Texas and you're there.
They're number one organically.
Yeah.
And they did an offshoot of HVAC and didn't like it. So it was a little different, but they still got a ton of traffic. It was huge. And the company was booming, and then they wanted more. And then they got tricked by an old paper media company. Yeah. Oh, we'll come in here. These guys don't know what they're doing. That Nolen on that video and that bearded guy, are you crazy? And so they go, no, we're
we're a turnkey solution.
The reason this came up, by the way, is that some other guy called and said, "Oh, it's down to you and this company."
Oh, that same company. Yeah.
It's down to you and this company. And he said, well, they're multi-billion. I said, multi-billion jack you up. And
did you actually say that?
Yeah. Multi-billion fleece your ass that don't know what you're talking about or something like that. And he laughed. I said, compare however you want. He said, well, they said this and they said that. And I laughed. And I'm like, they took over a client that we had, that anybody that knew anything would have been straight shameful if they had any integrity or, at all.
Yeah.
And so this client's site went from this massive website, which used to work, and it was dominant all over the state of Texas, and city pages back then worked.
Yeah, this is back when tons of city pages worked great, and so we did it because we always do what works.
We do what works, and so we would have transitioned this site by now had something happened to it. But they went from that, and then they turned it and went to this other thing, dropped all that stuff, and lost 80% of all volume.
Yeah.
And they never called back because people that have an ego the size of Texas won't ever call back.
Oh, the pride always stops. They won't call and admit they screwed up.
But this website now, and algorithmic parameters change. But things do change. And someone looks at a site like that and go, I know this site doing this. And it's like, yeah, that site is not you. And they'll say, what do you mean? I said, well, it's grandfathered on those parameters. They'll eventually lose those things. But that is not the algorithm today. And what that means is if you go in today and you're like, Nolen, I know a guy, HVAC, he dominates Dallas or he dominates Raleigh, and it's like, my God, I want to go in and I need you to do content and blogging and go. And they're like, do it, and they'll call up and inevitably,
I want blogs every week.
If our client starts saying stuff like this, because we're telling you stuff that the industry has not even come to realize yet, because we're in the middle of change, and then we champion change through SaaS software now. DataPins.com, DATAPINS. You can also go to another company of Field360.ai. That's the URL. And as far as I'm concerned, and I've asked this of some smart people that work here, there's no chatter in digital marketing that they're done.
Yeah. I see a lot of like posts on social media from other digital marketing people where they're like, wow, the SERPs, the search result pages are really volatile. And wow, this site that I was managing lost a bunch of traffic. It must just be a Google glitch or some change in the
lost the
content
ability
update. But they never say, what do we need to fundamentally change?
What can we do? What could we change? So you can still affect your Google rankings. It's just that you can't pay a digital marketing agency to slam in tons of content and to slap in links out of the country and go, because that's about all they can do. They can hook up a website. They'll overwrite it to get money for the production.
They'll do labor to justify the cost.
So you'll get a bigger website than you need now. And if I did a website, just to be clear with everybody, if we did a website a year ago that had 40 pages in it, we are not taking that down today.
No, not yet. Not yet.
And the reason we're not changing it today is because that site's grandfathered. And if you come in and do the same thing, start slapping in a ton of content, somebody chat GPTs the living crap out of your site. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. I said, no, multi-billion-dollar, screw your ass.
Well, what they probably did with our former client is they killed their organic leads. They probably made it up with all kind of paid stuff.
Oh, they're going to do paid stuff.
And that's the thing. But the client stayed busy for a while, and it never occurred to them to think about the fact that they were paying 10 times as much for the same number of leads.
That's not entirely what happened, by the way. There was a slowdown after COVID, and some of the material that they utilized was not available for about a year and a half.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that.
That's correct. So they had two things hit, and probably considered acts of God, which it somewhat was, but that's not what caused the phones to quit ringing.
Yeah.
Their phones quit ringing by 80% because of other changes they never related back to. And that was clouded by the fact that there was the supply chain issues.
Yeah.
But as far as an agency doing a site like the one you see in rankings, you don't need that site today, and you can't do the same one because he's grandfathered a little bit due to how the algorithm will make change occur over time. You need a really well done 5-page site, maybe a few pages, and then you need to inject in data pins, which send multitudes of signals of EEAT. I was here, wrapped in schema, red pin drops with captions, which is half of all search. Weird stuff, by the way.
Yeah.
AC repair, Denver CO, and the next search is need help with my M30 Wi-Fi thermostat. Literally half of all search is weird, and you can capture all that with data pins, and then you send it to your website, you send it to your Google account, you text and email client for reviews, and you're popping signals in a better way, in a modern today way. And the people that look like they're jacked are not jacked and or about to change. And wherever that guy is today, even, he will be based upon the algorithm. In 3 years, he'll be there based upon the algorithm today.
Yeah.
If that guy's old and tenured in the algorithm, it's going to be a delay on that guy forever on some level, because they're never going to go and smack him entirely because he's got trust and tenure with Google. And they can't get rid of all trusted, tenured companies in a marketplace, or they'll lose their algorithm.
Yeah.
They'll lose their search.
They'll lose the trust of the users.
They'll lose the search.
They can't do that.
Right. So you can't just, there was an old case about this. I forget, it's BMW maybe. Somebody violated the terms of the algorithm way back when. I think it was BMW or something, or it might have been Apple computer. And Google's like, they violated, they're penalized. They literally took Apple or BMW off of search results. And then everybody's like, your search engine sucks ass because I can't find Apple computer.
Yeah.
It's like, well, by God, they're being punished. Like, we're going over to Yahoo, idiots. Yeah. And they're like, oh shit. And so they put them back on. So they can't just like immediately like go, and Google literally had, we should look up which one that was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It happened like,
I remember the incident. I don't remember which company it
happened like 15, 16 years ago. And it was like, everybody's like, well, Google sucks. And Google's like, okay, we can't just wrangle people this way.
Yeah.
And so
they can't be seen to be, if they're seen acting as like the police force for the internet, they're going to start getting sued by companies.
Maybe sued.
Restraint of trade and stuff like that.
This was more just the...
But the users will also punish them by saying, I don't want you deciding what I see.
It was even beyond that. They couldn't find it. I mean, this was a company branded beyond Google.
Yeah.
And Google had... So I'm just explaining, like, this is why you see people in rankings that you don't think should be there.
Yeah.
And it's not typically any more that they trick the living hell out of Google. It is... It's not anymore that they trick the living hell out of Google. It's the fact that the algorithm knows what that company is doing. They know whether it's a little changed. They won't allow new people to the party. So
that way.
There's plenty of times that we look back over 15 years of doing this where we was like, well, we do have a few, because I had a clients call and said, well, I see somebody that's got a 300-page website. And so, well, they do. But if we do that site today, you're going to get sandboxed, penalized, and they may not even cache the pages. It'll literally, and so, well, why? Because you're not them. You don't have the signals of EEAT. Those sites, those pages are grandfathered for now. And so what we're in the middle of today is signals like DataPins being exactly what Google's asked for, precisely what Google's asked for, attached to a smaller website. And that's what you would do today. And it wouldn't have been the same thing in even September of 2023, or maybe even all the way to October, right around the time they launched that.
This is all happening as we speak.
Yeah, so it's...
And we're making these decisions. Now, I mean, if you call us and you've got a 300-page website, the reason you're calling us is because it's not performing.
Right.
And your site might have been performing great at one point. The person who made it for you might have actually done a good job when they did it,
right?
4 years ago or whatever.
Right.
And you finally hit a point where Google's finally saying, okay, you've left this like this for 4 years. So at this point, we're going to start pulling off of you because you're not keeping up.
Yeah.
And that's why when they call you and you're like 300 pages, it's not performing now. Okay. Now you've lost any ranking you might have once had. So now it's time to strip it out.
So when somebody calls us with these sites, by the way, just so you know, we take out 90+% of all the pages, redirect them, and strip those pages out. And the way that's done is looking at the hundreds of pages and literally saying, no one ever visits this 92% of all these pages.
Yeah, we've got tools we can use to go in and say, these pages have had no traffic in like 6 months or a year or 2 years or whatever.
Google looks at it and says, oh, thanks for fixing all this trash, Joe. This was much better user experience now. We were about to penalize you, or already had. We're going to lift the penalty because now it's a better user experience. And the DataPin signaling that you're doing.
It's like, oh, wait, what are these over here? Oh, look what he did yesterday. Yeah. Look, we slammed in 30 of these.
Yeah, Google, I'm a much better guy than you thought. I've got a nice, clean site, and I have more than 35 reviews. I've clearly done 450 jobs as evidenced by my DataPins. And by the way, while we're there, we took 60 seconds and let you know what parts and brands we worked on. And we tagged it and a few unique photos, and Google's like, well, this is really good.
That's fantastic. Throw that in the database. Anybody looks for that, show them that guy.
That's what happens.
Yeah,
so it sounds
quite literally
really simple, but there's a lot of noise out there, and I thought it'd be good to kind of go over and explain to y'all why these people are showing up in the search rankings. Hey there, guys. Nolen Walker here for HVAC Webmasters. Glad you're listening to the podcast, but I'd like you to become a client. We're a digital marketing agency that have done this for 12 years. I don't think there's anybody better than us at this point in time. We will help you with your design, your code, your content, showing up as high as we can on Google ranking, your organic ranking, your map ranking, your reputation, your reviews. Our digital marketing agency will help you be the best possible online. We can help you with all of it, even paid. We even have a software company called DataPins that's proprietary. We made it for you guys. You can take 90 seconds and do a pin on each job. We call them data pins, and it'll grab the geo coordinate where you're located. It looks like a little red pin drop, but to Google it looks like a digital hand raise. This helps them see where you're working. So if someone doesn't give you a review, they've got this with photos of the job that count as unique content and a caption. Let's say it's Linux air handler replacement with Linux M30 Wi-Fi thermostat. This is additional content that's literally going to drop on the individual service and city pages on the website and expand your keyword search ability. It's crazy how cool DataPins is, combined with the SEO and digital marketing agency services of HVAC Webmasters.com. Guys, check us out. We'd love to hear from you. The industry is alive. I'll one more point, and I think I'll be done. But the industry is alive in digital marketing agency work, largely from fluff, labor that doesn't need to be performed, clients misunderstanding, and really hardcore sales.
Yeah.
When somebody calls you, once a week, once a month, they're a cross between your business coach, your marketing manager, and your therapist or psychologist.
Yeah.
And that is what you're paying for.
Yeah.
I had a guy.
You're paying more for that weekly call than you are for the work done on your marketing in most cases.
I was talking to a guy, and we love getting calls. I love talking to people, but I'm about to hire a salesperson, to go over stuff because we've got a lot of people interested in DataPins and Field 360 .ai, and he's like, Nolen, can we hop on a call for like a Zoom or something? I'm like, I'm not personally going to do that. And when people go through stuff, and I said, look, I run like 3 businesses. We have software company, we have our agency and all that. And the agency, by the way, we still have the agency. We charge much less than we used to even.
Yeah.
And then that's rolled in and wrapped in with SaaS software. It's phenomenal. And it costs less and it comes out more people. So as we get more interested parties, I was like, I just don't want to do that and have time to. It's not unreasonable for you to want this. But I said, I will tell you this old Mob Bell or paper, they owned a newspaper, this company.
Yeah.
And I said, you're going to pay for that hand holding. You're going to pay for that. I said, that is just a sales routine. There's nothing else to it, but it's not unreasonable. A lot of people need the visuals,
Yeah, I get it. But if you want to know something, that confirms what he's saying, I've worked at traditional agencies and I know people that do. The accounts guy at a traditional agency, the guy that calls you every month, he's higher paid than the people who do the work.
Well,
yeah. And so that's what you're paying for.
And it does cost just a little bit more. And by the way, just so everybody knows, if you catch me on the phone, I'm a pretty good conversation on stuff, and we will have somebody doing a little Zoom, and it just ain't gonna be me. But when you talk about getting that pony show with content that doesn't need to be written, with BS that they pulled off of SEMrush and all this, about the only thing they can do is citations, pages of content you almost don't need, and links
that they shouldn't do,
that they probably shouldn't do, and they don't have pins and other stuff, and you're paying thousands for that. Because people go, oh, I know. I was like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Hundreds of dollars over here, thousands and thousands per month. That little girl, that guy talking to you, that's freaking expensive. And probably at this point, today, damaging what you're paying them for, because they have nothing they can do. And they didn't move gracefully into integrated software and AI. They did not.
Yeah.
They didn't pay millions of dollars like I did to start another company and integrate that stuff. They're pushing that crud, and they'll push that crud for a while. And until the algorithm catches up and gets rid of those grandfathered things, but the stuff they're doing already is not grandfathered.
Yeah.
And when you look at the company,
it was the stuff they're doing now. They were doing the same thing 5 years ago. The stuff they did 5 years ago is grandfathered, but that same thing they're doing now is not grandfathered because we're in the
they're
midst
still
of the
selling
change.
it. They don't have anything else to sell.
Still selling the same thing.
They have nothing else to sell. And then, by the way, when you don't get an organic rankings, you know what they do? They call for you to spend more money. and then they act like you're cheap when you can't spend $5 or $10 grand a month on paid ads.
Yeah, then it's like, well, you're kind of, you're number one on the 10 keywords we said you'd get, so you're kind of capped on that. If you want to grow any more, we got to move into those paid ads.
They ain't gonna be number one on 10 keywords they gave.
I just grabbed a number.
But yeah, so I had something sent to me on Slack too, and it was basically the Slack was the same company that was claiming they needed this rewrite and all this stuff and a new site, because that's all they're going to sell is grabbed a site they did with a ton of content, and that site only had 3 pages getting any traffic at all. You remember I showed you that just the other day? Yeah. So they had something was about to go off. So they had 3 sites, three pages in the site getting traffic.
And how many pages were on it total?
It went like that. I don't know.
It was just a long.
It was list. A lot. It was a lot of pages.
It was just traffic 0, 0, 0. I saw the report.
I mean, even if it was like 30 pages, so you pay somebody to write 27 pages.
That do nothing.
This is a multi-billion-dollar company. Yeah. This freaking 27 pages you didn't need.
Yeah.
You got to feed that multi-billion-dollar beast. That ain't cheap. You know, it's like it was going to cost it. I'm sure it did $10,000, $20,000 to write all that stuff.
Yeah.
Easy. Write up a website, and they got your account rep and everything. Yeah. Anyway, it's a mess out there. it's a minefield out there.
It's been a mess, but it's actually getting worse.
It's getting worse because people are having to sell this integrated stuff in order to make anything, and then they're justifying stuff with nonsense work that's actually causing penalties out here.
Yeah.
And then people don't know what's going on. And it's like, it's actually turned the right way. It's just that I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm a little pessimistic on that because there's probably 20,000 people out here spreading false propaganda. Companies. You know, could be one individual to a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they're all spreading false propaganda to get their monthly fee out of you, and then you run kicking and screaming, wondering, you know, what's going on.
Yeah.
So it is rough, and I do feel bad for people, but it's not. It's gotten better. I just don't know how many people are gonna. I think they're gonna get more vicious. Actually, I see a lot of people attacking these companies on like. Social media or something, and they're just coming into their feed, and then they get them, and then they hook them, and then let's get on that Zoom call. Let's tighten it.
Let's show you the presentation. And
hey, Joe, did I not show you everything here today that you asked for? Did I not agree with everything? Did I not, did we not show the deliverables for what you're going to be getting? I mean, can I get in your pocketbook? This multi-billion-dollar corporation needs to feed me, man. You know, we got to justify this. And it's like, okay. And people buy into it, and they buy it. And then they sign a term agreement, money down. We're month to month, by the way, always have been. Term agreement, money down, way too much per month, tons of work they didn't need. And then they go into it and they're just like, oh my God, you know, why did my full HVAC replacement calls cost me $700? You know, like I can't do this.
Yeah. And then they get into a thing where they're afraid to leave that. You had a client call the other day. Might have been just yesterday.
Trial 6 more months.
Yeah, that they were doing another 6-month contract because they've put money into this other agency and they're afraid to walk away.
Yeah, it's
and I get it.
Easier to stay. Yeah, I do too. It's always hard. I mean, I could go off on that topic. When you know there's a rat, and you can smell it. You got to get the damn thing out.
Yeah.
But it's so easy just to not deal with it. It's like, oh, I got a rat my marketing company. I got a rat my business. I got a rat an employee. And like, I'll just leave it. Anytime you leave that shit,
it'll poop everywhere.
No, 100-degree day will come and stink your whole house up. Yeah, I mean, it'll. Yeah, you get rid of that. You got to get rid of it. If you sense something wrong, you got to move. But people don't. It's just because it's confusing. But anyway, if y'all got questions, call. I'd love to talk to you, and I'll bet you we'll have somebody on a Zoom call for you pretty soon.
Probably.
If you want to do that. If you want to see anything about it, you can go to datapins.com. That is the future of signaling. It's driven the cost down. It's made it better. You can't fake or falsify or slap that from a foreign country or have ChatGPT do it. It is your uniqueness inherent within your daily activities sends the perfect EEA signaling to Google. It's perfect. We had been developing that for 6 years.
Yeah.
And now it's not only was good a few years ago, but it's exactly what they asked for.
Yeah, every time they've rolled out these updates, we have seen it become more effective.
Yeah.
We were actually ahead of the curve again.
Yeah, we're way ahead. We're way ahead this time. In fact, we're way ahead to the point that we're integrating with a SaaS wrap, and we're the old traditional stuff. We're like leaving you other suckers behind, and I'm so glad not to be in the same breath, mention, or room of them.
Yeah,
I don't want to be their friends. We like to drive change and help people drive the cost of services down and make a difference. So I'm excited to be a part of it. Give us a call, like, and subscribe so that Jason and I'll sit here and do more of this stuff. And we'll see you next time around.
Take it easy.